In 3, 2, 1, go. When it comes to picking under the veil of ignorance, we do not really know that this is predetermined. We are looking at the prospect of both things, whether or not we're going to enter into a life where we already have the riches or we don't have it yet, and then down the line something was going to happen. So we still have the burden to prove the likeliness of both things from the perspective of that of the house, right? So what is the most important thing in this debate, first and foremost, is on which side you are more actualized. The reason that this is important is Kuya Joseph explained that this is going to be about the way you internalize those experiences when it comes to your formative years. The two metrics here is just like how do we respond sadness and where do we maximize our happiness at the best, which will be explained further with my extensions on how we're going to be able to deal with it on our peak and at our lowest, right? Okay, a few floating responses at the top of my speech. Other responses will be integrated. On both sides of the house, old age and being frail will catch up to you, but the question we have is what upside physical comfort, clarity, peace, and fulfillment have at that point in which you are already older. Kuya Joseph explained why the number of experiences are correlated with the ability to define those experiences. Second, leader of opposition talks about false hope, but on-side proposition, the things you already experienced served as a means to set you up better, even if they go away. Even if you never reach that level again, you are likely to still preserve and act because it's not like you know it will never get better. That is to say, the chase of wanting to be successful and happy serve as a means to keep you going and not give up. On both sides, we do not know and cannot control the latter side of your life. But on our side, we have an upside to compare it with because of our earlier formative years. Another thing leader of opposition talks about is how it becomes doubly miserable because you're old and poor. You have to understand that when we are older, especially towards retirement, you have less to spend on, you have less time to spend on because things like social welfare and government services exist. There are pensions and other services to help the aged population. On their side, as what Kuya Yusuf said, you are likely to view yourself as entitled and deserving to all of these. Even if you are empathetic, it's entirely possible you view the traumatic and painful experiences in the past as something that justifies your happiness in the second half of your life. As what Kuya Yusuf mentioned, even if you have the means, the lens in which you look at life is more likely to be self-centered on the self, which restricts your ability to truly be self-actualized. Which transitions me to my first extension. Trauma doesn't go away. So this is something that opposition didn't really contend with insofar as their idea of like the underdog story, the hero's journey, right? Trauma doesn't go away. So let's explain how this actually manifests in the best circumstances. Trauma is a deeply embedded core part of your soul that is never gone and always ready to resurface. Second, you are likely to associate certain hardships with different experiences. Even with therapy, you are likely to still be more receptive of differing things like objects, experiences, etc. that you may have gone through during your earlier years in under opposition side. Because opposition only engages with the best case of their account, but doesn't really make a mention of how this sort of thing manifests. They say that they will have less misery on their side, but even if you grow accustomed to those particular experiences, what you get is paranoia, daddy issues, being overly selective, etc. Social fulfillment as a fiat does not remove all these lingering intuitions within you as imprinted by these traumatic experiences. Even if we have misery in the end of our life, we don't have these traumatic experiences at our formative years. The comparative here is on retrospection. The way at which we self-actualize towards the end is filled with wisdom, not hedonism based on the fact that we're entitled to our own ideas. Second extension that is on like how we're going to be able to manage our peak and our lowest. But let's characterize what like loneliness is, right? Loneliness is not going to be being alone, right? It's the feeling of not having anyone there with you, even if there are going to be people. So what likely happens is those who are loyal to you during your heydays are likely to stick with you. Again, we're not going to assume that we also have symmetrical social fulfillment here, because what's likely going to happen is that we have a hard time maintaining relationships. But the most important thing is that they're there, especially when it comes to the way at which we're able to take care of ourselves. So again, we have physical suffering, we have cognitive decline, but we have the services, the social welfare services that Kuya Joseph explained and I mentioned earlier. Okay, I'll take the point.
Are you saying that old people are justified?
Can you repeat?
Are you saying that all people are justified to?
Okay, when it comes to like this idea of isolation, we're not really saying that it's justified to like isolate yourself based on your experiences. It's just this is what happens in this particular motion. So we don't really have a point of justifying these things, right? Okay, then how do we handle the peak? We're extremely young and we're able to experience many opportunities. There will be many physical things we're able to experience without risk, like rock climbing, mountaineering, etc., which is higher levels of like social credits when it comes to experiencing a lot of fun things with other people. During these times, we're likely to hang out with our friends more often and be more chill early on. Humans' cognitive peak, no matter what, is always at the prime age of like around our 20s or even early 30s. So if we're able to pick a pursuit, let's say like being an athlete or being an artist, we're able to pour more into it. So the way that this happens is we're able to amass success in this period of time that looks very similar to the end point of at ascending happiness. The comparative here is simple. We maximize our conditions at the specific period of time because there will be decline due to age on both sides. Sure, even if the opposition has the fiat of intellectual clarity, the means at which they're able to use it is likely to be limited. Opposition tries to respond to this by talking about how we're unlikely to have empathy when the early parts of our life is centered around hanging out with a lot of people. But the impact here is that we have the opportunity cost of maximizing this early part of our lives. The second is on how we handle the lowest. We're likely to give back to the community regardless. We already peaked. We're not incentivized to push for anything more, and given the fact that we're lonely, we don't really have to hang on to any sort of acknowledgement. We are physically suffering. We are at rock bottom, and we are likely to reminisce about the good old days. But we do not look back at it through the lens of trauma. We look at it through the lens of I've done it all, I have nothing left to do. And given that we are on a cognitive decline, by the point we're already on the verge of our death, we don't need to hang on to the golden days. This ties back to Joyous' anchor claim to your experiential capacity. On the comparative, opposition is somewhat on this idea of chase, this idea of there's more gas left in the tank, as what Alexander Hamilton said, I will never be satisfied. The reason this is likely is because you want the storybook ending, you want to rewrite the initial part of your life. The impact is simple. You're able to use your formative years during these low points on our side. Having more empathy is not the comparative in this case. We already set this for the way at which we can actually self-actualize. The way at which we are actualized is more grounded in a line with the natural flow of life. Here.